Welcome to the Your History podcast. Today we have Inaee Gerard. Oh, dang, okay.
You got it right.
I had it right.
You got to trust yourself, bro.
Okay. Ready to give her testimony? I'm really excited because you have become a really good friend of mine over the last just few months that we've been serving together at church, and I think you're someone I look forward to seeing every Sunday.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. You know what, though? I remember how we met each other. You just were like, hey, good morning. It was like before service started. You're like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, I'm not a girl. The person that's like, even if I don't know who you are, if you come to me like you know who I am, I'm play along.
Yeah.
Like we're in it together. Yeah. Like you're going to think I remember who you are. And then eventually I'll like, oh, okay, But sometimes I'm like totally spaced on that. So, but you're like, yeah. And then I was like, oh, I don't actually know her, but maybe I'll get to know her. Mm-hmm. And I got your number.
Well, so because of this though, like I just mentioned it, I mean, you've become a good friend over the last few months and things, but again, I don't know much about you personally. Yeah. Like just the recent bits and things. So I'm super excited to hear this raw live version.
I feel like a lot of the years of my life I went through different phases like most people do, trying to figure out where my position was, how I was supposed to like move about this earth, what I was really here for. And recently, in the time that we've come to know each other, I really like figured that out. I actually got baptized as a child. Yeah, that was my first baptism. I was maybe like 6. I grew up African Methodist Episcopal.
Okay.
It's AME. So I grew up and I got baptized in that church, but just recently, and I think September of last year, I got baptized again. Because girl, I needed to be cleansed. I needed to be cleansed for sure. But this time, I felt like when I got baptized when I was young, it was like cool, but I didn't really know.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have an understanding of what I was doing in that moment.
Yes. Yeah.
But now that I've been through life and experienced life, like that moment that I got baptized now as an adult, that's a cornerstone in my life.
Wow.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. That's like a core memory, as they call it. I felt different on the inside.
Yeah. Wow.
I grew up in the church and I served in the church. Actually, I was on like the youth board and I was in the kids choir. I was like the secretary of Sunday school. Yeah, girl.
Wow. Really involved.
Yes. And torn up on the inside.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? But yeah, no, I was really involved in the church but I had absolutely no relationship with Jesus Christ. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I would be at church 2 or 3 times a week and had no relationship with Jesus Christ. And so when I grew up and I didn't have to go to church anymore, that's when life kind of got crazy because I had spent so much of my life doing that. And I thought that like that was kind of who I was, but my church also wasn't very accepting. I felt I was there, but I didn't feel like I was a part of a community. My mom had a stroke when I was 11. And I tell people that because it is that's one of those cornerstones. You know what I'm saying? There are pivotal moments in your life where it's like an event, something happens and it's like, all right, it made an impact on your future.
Yeah.
And so
it's a turning point where the direction changed.
Direction is changing.
Yeah.
And so my mom had a stroke. She was a single parent. She wasn't like single. I did have a stepdad, but my dad personally was not in the picture. It was me. My mom had 5 kids. I have my oldest brother. He's a truck driver now, but back then he lived in Connecticut. And all my other 4 siblings were down here. He was an adult, so that's why he stayed in Connecticut. That's where we're from. But I have another older brother, and then I have an older sister, and then it's me, and it's my little brother. So when my mom had her stroke, I didn't know. My oldest brother, he came down to help out, but my second older brother, he was actually going to prison. At that same time. I was 11. And so he was going to prison for 10 years. And then my sister, she decided to stay in Florida when we moved back up to Connecticut after my mom had her stroke. And then it was me and my little brother. And I was 11 and he was like, I want to say he was like maybe 4.
Wow.
And so really it was just like, it was me, you know what I'm saying? My stepdad took care of his son, and he took care of me, the best he could. And we've come to terms with like he did the best he could with the cards that he was handed and what he knew at the time. But that doesn't mean that at the time it wasn't hard to go through. And so my mom, my only parent, was essentially gone. Because when she had her stroke, she couldn't walk, she couldn't talk. Mm-hmm. She didn't know who we were. When we walked in the hospital room, she actually got frightened because there were so many of us and she didn't know who we were.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then he kind of explained what had happened, the whole losing her memory and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, it's still not registering. It did not register until I saw her in that hospital. And I was like, okay, things are going to change.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so she comes home from the hospital. We realized it's a whole lot of drama surrounding why we had to move back to Connecticut. We stayed in Connecticut. I was in middle school. So I started middle school here in Florida. And then I spent like 6 months here. We moved to Connecticut, back up to Connecticut. I spent like 6 months there. Then we moved to Georgia. I spent like 6 months in one place and 6 months in another place. And then we moved to Orlando and I spent like 6 months there. And then we finally moved back here.
Oh my God.
And I finished out middle school. And they almost didn't let me finish because they couldn't compile like all of my records.
Yeah.
Because I went to 6 different middle schools.
Wow.
During that time is when I believe some of the seeds that the enemy had planted in me started to blossom. And if you don't, and like I said, I had been in church, but had no relationship with Jesus. And so I didn't know what to do when I was being spiritually attacked, because that's a spiritual attack. You know what I'm saying? Like, and of massive proportions. I'm 11. Think about like where you are when you're 11 and 12, like trying to figure out your life. Like you're in middle school and you are trying to like, you think you know stuff, but you realize you don't really know stuff. But then like you kind of turn to your parents, but then you like, it was, and we didn't have the internet. So I wasn't Googling stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it was a really weird transitioning period. That's when, girls start turning into women, you know what I'm saying? Like hormones and stuff like that. During that time, actually got put into a mental institution about 2 or 3 times for attempting suicide. I was on antidepressants and anxiety, lots of medication. And I didn't have a parent though. Like my mom was not there. She was there, but she was not mentally there. Yeah. And it was like it was crazy because she had to like go through the stages of childhood again. And so like when we took her from the hospital, like my brother was 4 and she would play with his toys. Like she was a 4-year-old.
And it's crazy that you had to watch that.
I had to, you know what I'm saying? I had to step up for myself, but I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. And so during that time, like, and I still have scars from that time. But I'm not like, I used to be ashamed of them, but I'm like, man, life was hard and I made it out alive.
Yeah.
Some people don't make it out alive.
I got goosebumps. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people don't make it out alive, man. I made it out alive. Scars or no scars. So I'm thankful. Around that time is also when I became sexually active because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. And I wanted like love. I didn't have my dad. I didn't have my mom. Yeah, I wanted the attention. I wanted to feel like wanted and loved. And me and my mom had a really staticky relationship. We are much better now because of who I am. I walk in forgiveness and light, and whatever she got going on, like we gonna pray for her. You know what I'm saying? I don't let it affect me anymore. Right. But back then I was young. And so we would get into like serious fights. I got arrested because me and my mom were like physically fist fighting. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, she was in an abusive relationship. You know what I'm saying? Her and my stepdad were fighting. Yeah. And so it was a very tumultuous environment. And when you're trying to figure yourself out, that chaos just breeds more emotional instability. And so those are like your formative years. That's when you create a lot of your habits, a lot of your like longstanding beliefs and core characteristics in that, like, 8 to 12. That's when you really start like, okay, well, this is the kind of person I am. And I was like, I had no direction. I was from like 14 to 17 when I graduated. I graduated a little early because my birthday is in August. I was just like, whatever, I would like sneak out the house, and I was living a wild life because like that's what I had become accustomed to.
Yeah.
Because during my formative years, that's what I was doing. I was sneaking out. I was, being promiscuous. And so I continued to do that onto, in throughout high school, but not as much because it wasn't fulfilling. I just isolated myself. I stayed to myself. But me and my mom's relationship wasn't getting any better. It was still a very abusive household, mentally, physically, emotionally. And at the age of like 16, I just moved out. My friend was already on her way. And so she pulls up in the house and opens the door. And my mom is like, I'm like fighting her off. She has a weapon. And I'm like fighting her off. And my friend was like, that's it. And she made me pack up my stuff and I left. Wow. And I just did not go back. I would go back every once in a while to like get some clothes or whatever. Yeah. But I just didn't go back. And so all this time, like, I wasn't going to church. We weren't, you know what I'm saying? We weren't rooted in the word. Right. That was not in our house. Right. I graduated high school and I moved up to Tallahassee by myself. Like I had $1,500 in my pocket. I got an apartment or like rented a room in one of those college apartment complexes. Gosh, for like $200. What a time to be alive. 2013, man. What a time to be alive. Yeah, no, $200 for a room. Wow. I took that $1,500 and paid off my rent for the year. And then did not have to pay rent every month. So when I got my like financial, bro, that was the smartest thing I've ever done in my life. I didn't make any smart financial decisions after that. Wow. Just know that was the peak.
Oh my gosh, you just knew I got a place to stay.
I have a place to stay. I didn't want to be homeless. Yeah. So, because I had been homeless. Yeah. The times before, like before I moved in with my friend, like my mom would kick me out of the house and I would go sleep in abandoned houses for like days at a time. Really? And like clean up at bathrooms. You know what I'm saying? Like I lived like that, like as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old. Wow. And so when I got to be old enough, I was like, no, that's the one thing I don't want is to not have a place to lay my head at night because I had to do things that I'm not proud of to find a place to sleep sometimes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or find food. And so I was like, I don't care if I have to eat mashed potatoes every day. And I did. I ate instant mashed potatoes and grits every day. That's good. Okay. Very good. Yeah. It worked. All right. Until I got food stamps. Praise God. Yeah. And so, but yeah, so I was like, I don't want to be homeless. So I paid off my rent for the year. But at college, man, we were partying. Yeah. We
Especially
were partying.
Tallahassee.
Bro.
Are you kidding me?
Come on. Florida State. Your FAMU. Bad. The combination of those two schools together, just, I don't know who thought of that. Crazy, man. They call it Tallahassee. That's what they call it.
Oh my God.
So that's the life I was living. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I partied hard. I was doing drugs. I was drinking. I was partying hard. And I met my daughter's father, but I started to spiral kind of like back into depression because I had lost my job and then I had no way to pay my bills. And I was like, well, I can't call my mom. Can't call my dad. Yeah. I tried calling like my siblings, but because of everything that had transpired when I was younger, our relationship was very strained. Yeah. Because in the picture, I was painted to be the villain. Yeah. You know, that was like my villain arc. But to me, it was like I was trying to survive. And so I didn't have anybody to call. So I actually turned to one of my friends and he was like, well, I can show you how to make some money. And so I did some things that I'm not so proud of to make money. Yeah. I actually got convicted of a felony for that. Wow. So I am a felon. Not anymore though. because my record getting expunged this year.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But yeah, no, 20, I think it was 2015. I got arrested. I went to jail. And it was 2 felonies. And my daughter's father at the time also was in jail. I got out before he did because I took a plea. He was like, no, I'm just going to serve the jail time now. I took a plea and took probation, which was a mistake because I was on probation for like the next 5 years. So he was in jail for a little while and I'm out of jail. I'm on probation, but I lost my job. And so I had no way to make money other than the things I knew how to do to make money. So I'm still doing illegal stuff. And then he finally gets out. And at this time, like, I'm just like in a really bad place, but he was like, he was a comfort zone. Yeah. Because of how he, because of the relationship that we had. That was the first person I feel like I ever really got close to. Yeah. And so he gets out and he's like, I'm going back to Miami. We say our goodbyes and I find a job finally. I'm getting back at work, you know what I'm saying? And then like a few months later, I start like feeling really sick. At the time, my cycle was not regular. So I would go months without, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, let me just see. So I got one of the ones that has the lines and I was like, oh my gosh, the line was lining. The line was there. Like a week and a half later, I take another one. Very positive. But it's the line one. So I'm like, I can't trust this. Yeah. So I'm gonna get the one that says pregnant, not pregnant. Mm-hmm. Where as soon as I put a drop of pee on that thing, pregnant. Yeah. I was like, okay, let me go to the doctor. Because I don't think this is right.
You've been sick for 4 months and you never went to the doctor?
Did not go to, bro, by the time I found out I was pregnant, I was 4 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy? I almost couldn't find a doctor because they won't take you after your first trimester. Yeah. They didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell him. I told my best friend and she was like, what are you going to do? I did know in my heart that, because like I said, my cycle wasn't regular and my gynecologist was like, you probably won't ever have kids. Because like just the way your hormones and things are set up, it's because in order to regulate it, I had to be on birth control. Yeah. So if you're on birth control all the time, you won't ever, Yeah. And so I was like, in my heart, I was like, man, like they said I would never have kids and I can't believe this is happening to me. And so in my heart, I was like, I didn't have the heart, man. Mm-hmm. And I still believe like every woman has the right to their own body. I feel like people making laws against other people's bodies, like stay out of other people's business. Mm-hmm. Praise God. Mm-hmm. Okay. You know what I'm saying? That's you have no right to judge what they got going on. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, everybody has a choice, but that just wasn't my choice. Yeah. I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. I only had like 2 weeks to make a decision before it was illegal. Yeah. Because at 5 months, it's like no more. Yeah. So I was like, this is it. This is what we doing. Right. And so she was like, my friend was like, all right. I mean, if that's what you're going to do, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I decided to keep my daughter. I didn't tell nobody. And then one day my mom calls me. It's like right before Thanksgiving. She's like, you coming home for Thanksgiving? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, let me ask you something. And I was like, what's up? She's like, you pregnant? And I was like, who told you that? And she was like, I'm just asking. And I was like, why are you asking though? Because I hadn't told anybody. Mm-hmm. The only person that knew was my friend. Yeah. And she called me out of the blue one day and was like, are you pregnant? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I am. And so I came home. I came back to Fort Myers. And that decision at the time was just out of survival. At the time, like I couldn't work. Like my pregnancy was high risk and I was working at a warehouse lifting like 50 pounds. I'm still on probation. I had to get my probation transfer down here. And then I came home and I got a job here. I was working, trying to get my life together, but I'm still like so lost. All of this is happening and I'm still so lost. I still have not found any direction. But I remember when I found out I was pregnant, and this was a cornerstone. This was one of those cornerstones. I found out I was pregnant and I went to church because I was like, man, I don't know what to do. Yeah. But I know in my heart, like I need Jesus. Yeah. And so I went to church. I sat in the back of the church because I was like, oh, I'm a sinner. Not sitting in the front. And so I'm sitting like in the last chair of the last row.
Yeah.
In the corner. Okay, like don't look at me. But I'm in the church. I don't even remember what the sermon was about. But he took a moment at the end of the sermon. He was like, let's just take some time to pray. Everybody sat down. It was just quiet. They played a little background music and everybody was just praying. You know what I'm saying? He's like, if you want to leave, you can leave, but I'm going to take this last couple minutes to pray. And I said, God, because I'm 4 months pregnant. I drank and smoked my entire first trimester.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I'm like, God, I need you to intervene here because I just want a healthy baby. I want a healthy baby, and I want you to make me into the woman. I want you to make me into a mom that is worthy of being called a mother.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I need help, you know. And I cried, and I think that moment I was like, all right. It was like, okay, I knew that God was real. Came out, she was healthy. You know, she doesn't have anything going on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like she's a perfect girl. Around this time I went back to jail because I violated probation. I gave birth, and then like maybe a few months later I had to go to jail to serve that sentence. And my baby's father, who was not very present in her life, that was a messy relationship. And then my relationship with my mom isn't really that great either. And I'm trying to still get on my feet. And so I finally, you know, I get out of jail and I'm getting back to work, like trying to get back on my feet again. Cause my biggest goal at that time was like, I need to get out of my mom's house. I knew that environment was just not healthy for me. It never was. Yeah. And so I was like, I got to get out of there. And so I'm working, and that's when I meet Herbie. 2018, cause he had actually just got out of jail. Oh. Right. And so I got out maybe in like May or June. He got out in November. And I asked him one time, I was like, bro, like, what made you hit me up when you got out of jail? Of all the girls in your phone, you called my phone? Why? And he told me, he was like, I don't know, man. I was just in there because he got in his word when he was in there. You know, he got in the Bible. And so he was like, I don't know, man. One day I was praying and God brought your name to my mind. But still at this time, like I'm doing better because I'm like, okay, I'm living a better life. Like I moved out of my mom's house. Me and Herbie got our first apartment together. This was like, now we're at the point of like 2020. And so me and Herbie are together, but our relationship was really rocky at first. We both had a lot of things that we had to overcome. And so it wasn't, I think we were like maybe 2 years in. I think we're maybe like 2 years in, and we were just having a really rough patch. Our relationship was just, I was ready to leave him. And I was like, okay. And now between 2020 and 2022, I was practicing witchcraft. I would be like, crystals and magic. We were going through a rough patch. I was ready to leave him. And I put on a sermon by Sarah Jakes Roberts. It's called Girl Get Up. I still remember it to this day. And I'm sitting in the kitchen washing dishes, listen to the sermon, listen to the word. And I was really listening. And I'm washing the dishes, and she just said something. She said like a series of words, like, and then she just kept saying like, you're going through this and this and this and this and this, and you feel like you can't make it. Like, girl, get up. You know what I'm saying? This is happening, and you just don't know how you're gonna get out on the other side. Like, girl, get up. You know what I'm saying? Get up and fight back. And like, at the time I was like feeling really defeated. Yeah. So her telling me like, girl, get up, it hit my soul. Right. And there was not a spiritual crystal, whatever, incense, anything that I could light that made me feel the way I felt in that moment. Yeah. And I was like, man, God just keeps calling me back. We were at a conference And we had always gone to the Sunday morning services at our conference because we were Christian. But what were we really doing there? And it wasn't until one conference where, again, we were still going through that tumultuous patch. Even though like God had revealed himself to me as like a constant presence in my life, I was still going through life.
Right.
And so we get to this conference and it's Sunday morning. And they were like, if you need prayer for something or whatever, like, just come down. You know, like, you don't have to come down here to be saved, because people go down there on Sunday morning at these business conferences and get saved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm saved. I know that Jesus is my Lord and Savior, but I needed some prayer. And I let a lot of things go at that moment. And I think that's when things started really to change. But it wasn't, we went through another rough patch in our relationship. And at this point, I was the one that messed up. And Herbie was thinking about leaving me. Because we had been through couples counseling. We were talking about getting married and stuff like that. Went through this we had a huge fight. And I was just like, that Sunday, so it was like that Wednesday we had gotten in the fight. But we were still like, we lived together. We at this point, like, he's Nyla's dad. You know what I'm saying? And so it was like, we can't just rip our lives apart. And so that happened on like a Wednesday, and on Sunday I was like, I'm gonna go to church. Because every time life happens, I'm like, you know what? I need Jesus. Let me go get some Jesus now. It's convenient.
It's convenient now. It's convenient now.
That is so sick. I can't believe we do that. I literally got up that morning. I woke up, it was like 7 something. And I got on my phone and I was like, church near me. And stop. Because that's exactly how it happened. Up the street, church near me is Next Level in Life Church. Next Level had a service at 9. And Life had a service at like 10. I was like, I'm up. It's 7 something. Like, I'm gonna get ready. We going at 9.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to go to Next Level.
Oh my gosh, that is so good.
Yeah, right. And girl, when I tell you the enemy was testing me on the way to church, because there was a truck behind me and it was like on my butt. You know what I'm saying? How people drive in Florida. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm trying to go talk to the Lord. Why are you testing me like this on the road? On a Sunday morning.
Jesus' day.
Jesus is watching you. Yeah. Okay? And so, and then I get to the church. I finally made it. I'm like 5 minutes late now because this truck was like being mean. And I'm 5 minutes late. I get to church, girl. When you pull up at Plantation, if you don't pull up on time, it ain't no parking. No, yeah, that's true. There was not one single parking space. Where did they except for a handicap. Somebody left. Oh wow. Somebody, I guess they were like waiting to get their kids, and so they finally got their kids out, and then they left, and that was the only parking spot open for somebody that had left because they had a kid under 2. Wow. That was the only one. I legitimately did circles around the parking lot. Oh my god. Like 3 times. Nothing. There was a spot, but when you see how the person parked next to it, yeah. Don't be disrespectful like that. Don't be disrespectful like that in the church parking lot. PSA. No. Okay? Park politely at church. Okay? I had to say that. Because eye contact. Okay. Love it. But so that was the only spot. And I'm like, we drive this big old truck. Yeah. Ain't no way. But somebody pulled out. We finally got in. We like 10, 15 minutes late. Getting out in there. But the vibe was right. You know what I'm saying? That was like August last year. Of 2020? 2024. 4? I believe so, yeah. Wow. Right? Girl, okay. Because when did we open downtown? Downtown was in October. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So like 2 months before downtown opened is when I started attending. I didn't know Fort Myers. Yes. I thought you had been for a while. Church near me. Yeah. Church near me in August of last year. Oh my gosh. So this really is like a recent transformation. This is like for sure. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, this is like, life was crazy up until August of last year. But I wrote in a journal, I said, God, I do not want to continue to live this life. like being held back by my flesh. So hard, bro. Like fighting your flesh and what your body wants is so difficult. And for someone like me who grew up, like my husband grew up very different. He played sports and all kinds of stuff. I didn't do none of that stuff. I didn't have no discipline. I did what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, how I wanted to do it, with who I wanted to do it with.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have any discipline like in any area of my life. And that is my biggest thing that I'm like getting victory over currently.
Wow.
Still not having any discipline. And like I cannot keep running in this circle. Like I felt like things would be really good and something would happen and then things get really bad, but then I pray and then things get really good and then something would happen because I was not living right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I just kept going in this circle, and it was like giving me depression and anxiety and all kinds of stuff, man. I claimed that stuff over my life for a long time. I was like, oh, I have depression, I have anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Like I claimed that stuff for myself for a long time, but it was so fake. It was so fake. I just didn't have any internal peace because I didn't have any real purpose. Wow. I was just moving in a circle. After this day, I will not be the same. It was August 17th, 2024. I remember it. And I wrote in the journal, I was like, I'm not living life like this anymore. And that Sunday I went to church and I met Ashley. And Ashley, groups were just starting, literally next week. Next week groups were starting. Bro, I got in a group.
Wow. Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, it was like, and mind you, I was baptized in September.
Yes,
this is like back to back to back to back to back.
Wow.
But I wrote down in that journal, I told God I'm not going to live the same. Like I'm ready to change my life.
Right.
And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
So like, if he wasn't going to like dunk me in the water, like all the way in, I was going to put my toe in, you know what I'm saying? And then I would have been in the same circle. So he knew he had to like drown me a little bit.
Yeah. But with you making the conscious decision of I want life change, that's the way to go.
That's the way, That's the way to go. I'm so glad that it worked out that way. I have never been and I was church hopping. I've been to many churches and never have I ever been fully engaged like that. Yes. Like I put in the key and started the car and they said, okay, we're gonna put it in drive. Next level gonna put you in drive. Yeah, they do. Okay, we're not playing in neutral. Yeah. We're going somewhere. And I'd never been in a church that was like, everybody here needs to go somewhere. We are going somewhere. Yeah. We're not just here. We're not just a church. We're going somewhere. We're doing something. We're making a difference. And I was like, this is lit. And so yeah, I did Freedom, and that Freedom group completely changed my dynamic. I learned so much stuff about myself. The biggest thing that I learned was what a stronghold really was and the strongholds that I had over my life that were holding me back. Because all this time I've been, and I described it, I remember in Freedom, I described it as praying for the symptoms, but I had never prayed for the disease. You know what I'm saying? When we were going through our relationship problems, like I would pray to like, you know, not have those kind of thoughts, or like I would pray to like be better at something or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I would always pray for the symptom of the situation, not for the disease. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The stronghold that I have is that what needs to get prayed over. Yeah. I had been searching, you know what I'm saying? And I knew that I was a Christian, but like I told you before, I didn't have a Christian foundation. I didn't know how to do this stuff. I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I didn't know how to have a relationship with Christ. And I didn't know how to have a relationship with Jesus. And Empowerment Track and Freedom Group taught me how to do that. It taught me how to read my Bible and actually apply it to my life. Yeah. And it taught me that it's not just a book. It is the living Word of God. Now I'm like, life is not perfect, but I thank God every day I'm not who I used to be.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I thank God every day for that.
And especially with it being like not even a year ago. Okay, so you kind of did like the analogy of like how you felt like your life is going in circles, and it would be good and then it'd go bad, and then you're in the cycle, and then it'd be good and then it'd go bad and you're in the cycle, and that kind of thing, right? Right. Technically speaking, like even as Christians, that cycle doesn't stop.
No.
Right. So the cycle doesn't stop of life is good, things, challenges happen, and then life is good and challenges happen. So I want to hear about like really what was the shift in you to say this cycle is no longer going to control me the way that it has in the past. Like what was the difference for you?
So what I will say is that the cycle, I feel like when you invite the Lord into your life and you invite Jesus into your heart and you allow him to really move in the way that he needs to move in your life, then the circle is not a circle anymore. You start living in the line. Yeah. Because when I was in the circle, I was in the dot. Going in the circle. So stuck in this little dot.
In this little dot.
In this circle. Little dot, just going and going and going, because I'm living for the world. That's what the dot is. It's your time here on earth. It's the world. And I was so caught up in my time here on earth, I wasn't living for the line. Now this circle is not a circle anymore, it's a line, because I'm living for eternity. So the stuff that would have gotten me caught up in my little circle, in my little world, is not real, because this is all temporary. I'm living for the line, because that's forever. So the stuff that would trip me up, and that was a mindset change.
Yes,
that was a mindset change, but it was also a lot of choices and the things that I intake into my mind and into my heart and into my ears and my eyes, the things I allow myself to consume.
People have so many words for it, like when it comes to like, oh, destiny, or oh, manifestation, or oh, like the butterfly effect, or the invisible string. Like there's so many words to it, but
it's the Lord.
It's God.
It's the Lord.
Okay. Like I am so just amazed. I'm amazed at your story. Oh, especially like what really got me was that it's so recent. That it's like you really went in head first because you said, I am done. With you, you really are light on your feet, and you are just...
Because I've seen the other side.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, it's not even worth it.
Right.
So I know one of my favorite artists is Madison Rhiann Ward, and she has a song called Go Back. And the lyrics say, I never want to go back. I never want to know that life before love.
We touched on it really well on just encouraging others and encouraging viewers why we choose this life. What it's about, and it's really special. Your story is really special.
That's the bottom line. I've tried a little bit of everything. But the only thing that's ever been for real was Jesus.
I'm glad that not only was this your first time really sharing all of what it was, giving us a good overview of your testimony, of your story, and how you gave it to him, and it is now his, and it's his to lead you in. And I mean, it's amazing. I encourage you to now, hopefully this gives you that boost of confidence. You know what? I'm gonna do this more often.
This used to make me cry, man. Like talking about this stuff used to make me cry, but I have victory.
Yes.
When you don't have victory, it's kind of hard to talk about because you're still fighting
You're still in it. You're still in it.
But I'm not there. I have victory over all of that. Nothing that happened has determined who I am.
It's so disheartening to know that there was a point in your life where you didn't love yourself. Because where you are now and who I know today. I mean,
it's like, what? She's great.
Yes, exactly. I can't see you and not smile just because you give that energy. I'm so expectant of just see you and your husband just, wow. Like I can't, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm expecting to see just where you guys go, because as you continue on this journey and knowing that it's going to be challenging, knowing that it doesn't just stop, right? It's just the way that we see things and the way that we go through it that changes. I mean, wow. Thank you for being here.
It's going to be great.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I did it.
Yeah, you did.
Oh my God.
Thank you to those who watched and have a sense of peace and a sense of comfort that there is a God out there who looks after you, who is seeking your heart, seeking your attention. And so if you ever feel that just small sense of a calling from God where, hey, church near me, okay?
Okay, it worked for me.
Church near me. If you want to share your story because you know that calling or that tug at your heart that God has been calling you to do that, please do reach out.